I never expected the phone call to feel like a punch. It was early morning, gray light spilling across my apartment. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the ringing screen. The name flashing was someone I hadn't heard from in years. Tom, my childhood best friend. We used to talk every day in high school, shared every secret, every plan for the future. We swore nothing could change that bond. Life, it seemed, agreed with us then. The voice on the other end was quiet, hesitant. It carried a weight I couldn't place. He told me about the accident. He was gone. Tom was gone. I felt a strange emptiness. Not sorrow, not anger. A void, spreading through my chest like winter's cold. I had lost him years ago, already, in ways I hadn't admitted. Now, it was real, official, unavoidable. I walked to the window and looked down the street. The city was waking. People moving fast, oblivious to loss. I envied them. Memories I hadn't touched in years returned in waves. Tom teaching me how to skateboard in the park, laughing when I fell, yet helping me up. Our late-night conversations about girls, about dreams, about leaving town. Every detail sharp, vivid, like I'd closed my eyes yesterday. I sank into the sofa, hands over my face. I realized something terrifying. I hadn't called him in years. Life had carried me away. Work, obligations, responsibilities. I had let distance grow, thinking it harmless. Now, it was a permanent chasm. The apartment was too silent. I noticed how empty it felt without someone to share it with. I had built walls for protection, walls that now felt like isolation. I wandered to my bookshelf, books, unopened journals, old photographs. There he was, laughing with me on the playground. Our parents watching nearby, smiling. A life that felt simpler, safer, entirely gone. I thought about calling my other friends, the ones we drifted from over the years, but I hesitated. Would they even remember me? Or was I another ghost in their past? I drank water slowly, savoring the taste. I wanted to cry. I didn't. I had trained myself to contain emotions, to process them internally, quietly. Yet today, restraint felt hollow. The emptiness in my chest demanded recognition. I could feel it echoing in every step, every thought. A silent reminder of what I had lost and what I had neglected. The morning passed unnoticed. Coffee went cold beside me. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the city hum. I thought about Tom, and how abruptly life could rearrange itself. How fragile everything familiar could become. By afternoon, I left the apartment. The streets were warm with sunlight. Children rode bikes, dogs barked, neighbors chatted. Life marched on, indifferent. I felt invisible among it all. A man carrying absence as if it were weightless. I wandered through the park we used to visit. Benches empty, swings still. I touched the bark of the old oak tree we climbed. It had grown older, scarred, yet alive. A reminder that some things endure beyond people. Yet the laughter was missing. His laughter. I sat on a bench, letting the wind pass over me. Memories replayed, unsummoned, unrelenting. I thought about all the moments I ignored, believing there would be time. Time to reconnect. Time to fix mistakes. Time that would never come again. And for the first time in years, I let myself feel fragile. Not strong, not composed, just fragile. That evening, I returned to my apartment feeling hollow. I kept replaying his voice in my head. Quiet, serious, and fleeting. I dug through old photos, laughing at memories I had buried. Road trips, late-night talks, our first concerts. It struck me how little I had shared with anyone in years. Even with my parents, even with my ex. I had built a private life inside myself, thinking it safe. The next morning, I decided to visit the old neighborhood. The streets were familiar, but unfamiliar. Houses had new owners. Trees had grown taller. Even the park seemed smaller than I remembered. I ran into Mike, another childhood friend, outside a coffee shop. He had aged differently. Lines etched into his face, eyes carrying weight I hadn't expected. We spoke for hours, recounting memories and lost opportunities. Laughter came cautiously, and then silence. A silence heavy with what we didn't do and could never undo. I realized that grief wasn't just about losing Tom. It was about losing the version of myself that existed with him. The version that believed in permanence. The version that trusted life to remain simple. At night, I sat by my window again. The city lights flickered like distant stars. I thought about Tom's family, whether they understood the depth of what he meant to me. I didn't know if I wanted to tell them. I wasn't sure I wanted to admit it to myself. I drifted into restless sleep. Dreams carried fragments of our childhood, meandering conversations, shared jokes, a feeling of invincibility. I woke up with the ache of absence stronger than before. Days passed in a rhythm I hadn't known existed. I wandered the city like a ghost. Coffee shops, parks, libraries, places Tom and I used to haunt. Every corner reminded me of what was missing. I contacted his sister, finally, after weeks of hesitation. We spoke cautiously, carefully. She cried silently over the phone. I didn't cry. I listened, feeling the distance between shared grief and private guilt. Then came letters, journals I hadn't known existed. Tom had written to me even when I ignored him. Small notes, reflections, little jokes tucked in envelopes. I read each one with trembling hands. Each one a reminder of a bond I had neglected. I began writing back, even knowing he would never read it. Words flowed reluctantly at first, then poured out unchecked. I confessed regrets, memories, confessions I had held for years. A dialogue with absence. In that process, I discovered parts of myself long buried. Empathy for people I had distanced myself from. A willingness to feel deeply and openly, without self-protection. The grief for Tom became a mirror. It reflected what I had ignored in myself and in others. Weeks later, I met some of our old friends in a small gathering. We shared stories about him. Some funny, some painful. Each story stitched a new understanding of who we were together and who I had become apart. I revisited the park one last time. sat beneath the old oak tree, felt the wind in my hair, sunlight on my face, and allowed myself to speak to him silently. "Goodbye, Tom," I whispered. No anger, no despair, just recognition, acceptance. It wasn't closure. It wasn't relief. It was a quiet acknowledgement of loss. A step toward living in the present, carrying his memory gently. Months later, life regained rhythm. Not the same rhythm, but a new one. I reconnected with my parents more often, made small efforts to reach friends. I noticed the quiet beauty of ordinary days. Some nights, I still think of Tom. A laugh, a look, a shared secret, and I smile softly. Grief had shaped me, taught me presence, taught me to treasure fleeting moments before they vanish. I learned to carry absence with grace, to let the past live without controlling the present. And in that quiet understanding, I found peace, not triumph, not joy, just peace.